in the studio, gay rights campaigner Peter Tatchell. It does seem absolutely extraordinary that in 2013 there are some countries that are still punishing homosexuality with death, but, you know, I'm not here to, for our viewers to get a sense of my own sort of persuasions or sense of sensibilities, as it were. Let's get back to the US story today. Gay marriage is not legalized across the USA, and the majority of states still ban gay marriage. However, today, two landmark rulings which could potentially trickle down, one assumes, to other countries around the world.
Well, I think the important thing for the United States about this judgment is that it is a victory for love and marriage. So everybody who supports love and marriage should rejoice.
Right, you rejoice, love and marriage, you get to share your pension and your tax benefits and all of that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
But even heterosexual couples who believe in love and marriage, they should welcome the fact that gay couples will also now be able to take part in this institution. I think the other aspect of this decision is that it establishes a very important principle, and that is that gay and lesbian people should be equal under the law. And that will have a knock-on effect, I believe, not only in state legislations, but also in other federal laws and aspects.
My Twitter feed will be alive as you speak, because there will be people around the world in many, many countries, and it is it's their right to say it, that homosexuality is wrong, and if I were to agree with it, certainly marriage isn't an institution that they would agree with. And there will be many viewers watching this tonight who will disagree with absolutely everything you say. What do you say to them?
Well, I believe in democracy and free speech. They are entitled to their opinions. But I also believe that democracy involves equality before the law. And just as I would never countenance discrimination against people because of their race, their faith, their disability, their gender, equally, I think in a democracy, we have to accept that whatever we may personally think about same-sex couples, they are entitled to the same rights and the same responsibilities as everyone else. That is a fundamental democratic principle, and if you depart from it for one group, you open the door to also discriminating against others.
When we're talking about the economy, we often say that when the US sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. And I want to use that analogy, although it's a terrible one, really, tonight. But I want to use that analogy.
This is a cold. This is a get well message.
This is a get well message, all right. But the idea being that when something happens in the States, eventually it sort of trickles down to other parts of the world. It was only a couple of weeks ago that in Italy, you know, a country that is part of G8, one of the supposedly 8 biggest countries in the world, for the first time allowed its first gay marriage. Are we, or should we expect to see the sort of legislation that we've seen from the States trickling down into other countries around the world, at least where gay marriage or civil ceremonies are allowed at present?
I'm sorry, I need to correct you. Italy does not allow gay marriage. In fact, in civil ceremonies.
Which is completely different, of course.
That's right.
You're absolutely right to point that out.
Of West European countries, Italy is the great bastion of homophobia. It's the most backward nation in Western Europe, and it is down to the malign influence of the Catholic Church and the Vatican. They are holding back equality for gay people, and it's absolutely shocking in the 21st century that, in contrast to France, United Kingdom, Germany, Spain, and Portugal, Italy, a major, major power, is so resolute in supporting discrimination against
you're right to pick me up on
lesbian and gay citizens. But in terms of the wider picture...
Yeah, the wider picture is this. You know, we're seeing, at least in those states where gay marriage is allowed in the States, that those who decide to get married will be allowed to share pensions, tax benefits, and all the same things that heterosexual partners are allowed. Will that happen here, in Africa, in Asia, in other parts of the world anytime soon?
Same-sex marriage is an unstoppable global trend. I see it as analogous to the battle for women's rights and the right of women to vote. The first few countries gave women the right to vote. The rest of the world stood back aghast. and said we'll never ever change.
This is all about emancipation, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
You're drawing the analogy.
Absolutely.
I'm not
Eventually,
sure.
eventually most of the world has given women the right to vote, and they will give gay people the right to marry.
And I would expect you to say that, Peter, coming from the organisation that you do. But look me in the eye and say, you and I have been around for a long time now. We've been talking for a long time about this very subject. There are parts of the world where homosexuality is banned. It is punishable with death. How confident are you that a ruling as you've had in the United States today, which is quite remarkable, will trickle down anytime soon to the rest of the world? I know you want it to. My question is, will it?
Well, first of all, the United States is not the world leader. Many other countries, including Uruguay, South Africa, and Argentina, have already got same-sex marriage. So they've beaten the United States to it. But I'm very glad the United States has joined the crew. Although this ruling is not about same-sex marriage, it's just about ending the federal non-recognition.
It's about benefits. It's about money.
It's more about
basically.
benefits.
Right.
But, you know, because of the size and economic and geopolitical power of the United States, it will have a global impact. And I am confident that eventually, even in the most right-wing homophobic states, we will eventually see equal legal rights for gay people, including same-sex marriage. It may take 50 or even 100 years, but it will happen because in all these homophobic countries, there are gay people. It's interesting. We just had a survey recently which found that the highest rate of internet searches for gay porn was in countries where the laws were most repressive. And that would indicate that there are many people in those repressive homophobic countries that have same-sex desires, and their desires, their love, their affection for their partners cannot be stopped by any state, no matter how tyrannical.
Mr. Tatchell, always a pleasure. I was going to say I hope to see it in our lifetimes. You went on to say 50 to 100 years, and I'm not sure I'm going to be around that long. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Tatchell, always a pleasure to have on the show, an expert on this subject. Still